Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Brightonsea Town Council meeting of the 19th of March 2026. I can ask for apologies, please.
Apologies from Councillor Carr and also Councillor Penton made a few minutes late.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item number 2, the minutes of the meeting of the 19th of February. I presume you've all had copies and do you have any corrections or questions of accuracy?
Can I just make a comment regarding the post-meeting note on question 2? Right. Can I just say that my comments made on the night was referring really in the context of new legislation coming in and how we're going to handle social media.
Yeah.
So I apologise if I caused some confusion there. But also today we've just received the tendering an update for councillors for social media, social and also the elections which is coming up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And we have spoken in the Commons team about the new social media policies. I think we're talking about the next month. So it is in hand, although I think I've done a bit of a more wise. Do you remember what he said? All the notes are in there, but not necessarily in order.
Right.
So I read from the report, so I brought it out, and obviously some of the things were a bit quiet.
Well, we've minuted that, so
Not necessarily the right order.
Not in the read.
okay, are there any other comments? Okay, thank you very much. We can therefore move on to the Mayor's announcements. I published the list, as you've seen, but I would like to add a little note to this, please. I would like to share Brightonsea heartfelt wishes with Vittoria Barreto family and friends from Brightonsea. Please know that if there's anything else we can do to support you, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'd also like to say that I and my fellow councillors would like to acknowledge the incredible reaction of the Brightonsea community shown in response to Vittoria Barreto's affair. Personally, I felt very proud as Mayor when I had to report your efforts to the press, and I have to say they were full of admiration of the community spirit in the town. So I think that's done nothing but good for us. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, the declaration of members' interests. Do we have any? I'll take that as a no. Therefore, moving on to item 5, Councillor Goggin. Would you like to come and join us? Somebody will make room for you.
I sit here, is that all right?
Yeah, fine.
Apologies for my back. Sorry? Good evening, everybody. I'll be up after I was in a busy month, I might say. There's a couple of things which you may want to talk to me about. There's a couple that I'd really like to mention. And it's at the top of my agenda under future items planned. Most counties, and Essex is the same, has a speed strategy. And the strategy is a system whereby there are sort of governance and guidelines, and they don't vary from them. So there are times when quite sensible discussions need to be had around speedings in all sorts of circumstances, but they're not allowed, they're not encouraged, because if they're not in the right, if they don't fit the strategy, so you get a situation where you can get whole villages want a 20 mile an hour throughout the whole of the village, and the discussion can't go very far because that is not inside, not the strategy. So about 18 months ago, a board was set up to look at the speed strategy, and in many cases it's a good, simple, straightforward exercise. In others, it's absolute pain. They're completely wrong with what public opinion is. So the strategy is out. It's published, I think, yesterday. The key point for me is it comes before my scrutiny committee next week. So if anybody has any issues they think they'd like me to bring at that meeting, that's one opportunity we've got. But it does mean that there will be there'll be differences of opinions between, and so take my division, there'll be a difference of opinion between somewhere like Alresford and Brighton. So it's, in terms of speeding as such, I think it's the most significant piece of kit that's come out of Essex for a long time, and it's needed. It's needed. Had a busy couple of days with the sand pit with SRC. Various meetings have been attended. I had a couple of site meetings. I followed a couple of lorries, which is a bit weird, I know. I've spoken to the scrutiny department and the impeachment department. By coincidence, yesterday was the 3-month, it was one of the monthly visits that the scrutiny department have anyway, and they also have a second thing about a public right of way. And there was big discussions regarding the wheel washing. I've sent to the office pictures of the wheel washer. The wheel washer appears to be working, but not all the time. At the moment, the situation is it went first thing in the morning, went really down, etc. So I'm going to tell you what I've been told. The sweepers, there's one in the morning that works till 1 o'clock, which is their own one. There's another one takes over from 1 o'clock, which I think is a company called Milford, I believe. At this moment in time, they are both working double shifts. So I sat at the corner the other day, and as every 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 lorries that went out were sat, the sweeper went with it. It doesn't work 100%. There is a slight complication in as much as, I don't know the details, but there was a young person had an accident on a bicycle. I'm assuming it's a bicycle, not a motorcycle. And I looked at Thorrington, and I don't know if you've been out of the town, but at Thorrington there appears to be a huge amount of stones. Stones, not mud, not clay, stones. And so I took that back to SRS and said, look, what are you doing? They said, well, we're not digging stones. We're not bringing stones in. We're not taking stones out. And they politely pointed out that there are other lorries working on the B10. So you've got an odd situation where, in theory, the obligation from the sand company is if this is their site, they have, and I'm not 100%, but they have a limit where they've got a responsibility. I think it's 5 miles. It may not be that. And the concept is, if you're digging or delivering or collecting, and you go through a wheel wash, if there's something that's been missed, by the time you get to the church, it should be nearly all gone. And by the time you get down the hill towards Thorrington, it should have all dropped off. That doesn't work all the time, of course. But this stone thing is a real issue. So the compliance department from Essex County Council, who were there, the office know the names, at the time that they did the inspection, which was for 3 hours yesterday, they were very happy with what was going on. Now that doesn't fit everybody's view. So I just let you know that it hasn't been a day where I haven't had a discussion with the Director of Operations and Essex County Council. So I'd be interested, and again, the one thing I have said, Terry, our groundsman, found something, and I said, just help me out here, give me pictures, bring pictures. Because at the moment, having been inspected and been inspected again, at this moment in time, the inspectors are quite comfortable with what's going on. Nundle Hill, church, tarmac, a couple of things like drop curb requesting going for someone with a disability. They mentioned the speed strategy again. The 13 billion pounds under management that the pension scheme is of huge interest to people who are ratepayers, because that's covering most of the liabilities. And I think, to be blunt, those were the key issues that I had, and I thought you ought to know.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Do you have any questions?
I know that it's been reported as an emergency, but I just wondered when we could expect some sort of repair for the two craters up as you come out of town on the main road.
Funny you should say that. Well, no, not funny, sorry. Whenever people, it's difficult to get people to report. There's a system, we here are very good at it. I made a note here of Julie and Tracy. I think they're on the phone a lot. It's very difficult to get people to report. Many people appear to write things in odd places. But I think I'm right in saying we've had something like, over the last week, less than three comments from anybody. I go to there's this thing called Track It, where everything. Last Friday was the first time I heard about the accident with the lorry that went into the bushes. So I went to the site and I looked up the most recent report, which was 19th of the 3rd. And I spoke to the emergency. I said, look, it's gone past the, let's have a look at it stage. The minute you get an accident happening, then it's significant. So they came out within 2 hours. They repaired the one that had been reported on the 19th of the 3rd, but didn't repair the other one up the road, or down the road, depending what it is. I found that out. Today we arranged for it. It might be done tonight.
Okay.
Now, the problem is,
I came through today and I couldn't see one that had been repaired at all. They're both.
on the left-hand side, Vine.
No, I don't know.
I've not seen any.
Oh, well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
think you're talking about 19th of February, not the 19th of March, aren't you? Last report.
That's
Because
the.
No,
19th of
no.
March today.
Um,
It couldn't have been reported today and done today, sure.
Definitely wasn't done.
I think the one on the left hand side was, I went out this morning and I'm pretty sure I swerved to avoid something that wasn't there. Just do it all I think it was for a lift. It might be repaired, that one on the left hand side.
my view is the one on, make sure we're all going the right way.
Yeah,
coming
big
out
one,
of
going
town.
out of town.
The one on the left, definitely hasn't been repaired, but that's definitely the one that I reported today. They said another 2 to 3 hours. The problem you've got, and I'm not an engineer, it's not deep enough. It's a layer. I know, but the problem is, I understand exactly what you're, but the problem is, if it's not deep enough, all you can do is an emergency, and that won't last, it's just, because there's not enough to go down. Again, I sound like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So the answer is then to take up the whole of the road, not whole, a lot of it, and that's all I know, to be honest.
To be honest, that stretch of road, he's getting periodic, well, he's getting worse again. The sinkhole where the drain's sunk,
Yeah.
he's sinking again, and that was supposed to have been repaired, properly repaired, not patch repaired. You've got the two,
Sorry, go on. I just want to let other people.
okay, you've got the two either side of the road. There will be a nasty accident. I had to slam my brakes on last night coming home,
Okay.
someone swerved right
I'm
onto
sorry
the other
for
side of the road to try and avoid it. So, what does it take? Does it take a nasty accident for someone to come out and do it? That's what it looks like now.
That's a reasonable comment.
Yeah.
And what pushed the first report, there's one level of report. You report it, you take a picture, you do that.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the level of report, it says exactly what's been on my report every year for the last 12 years, which says, tell us about maintenance issues only online by using our high-risk reporting tool. If you think there's a risk to public safety,
Yeah.
do not report online.
Yeah.
Please call ECC immediately on 0345.
Which I know in the
You-
past, and Julie did on my behalf for one of
Okay.
those
Yeah.
potholes. So it was reported as an emergency then.
And someone may have come out.
Yeah. Looked at him and gone away again.
In some cases, that is the case, yeah.
Okay, Graham, and then.
Wasn't there an initiative a few years ago when, if they came out to do repair to a pothole?
Yeah.
And there was another one in close vicinity, they were told to do that as well?
Yeah.
Is that still going on?
It is, yeah. It's, again, I'm fed to the stuff that I get. If you have a look at Spring Close, Spring Chase, that was a good one, where someone lived there. That was exactly what they did. They started at one end and went down, and they got to Queen Street and stopped. The problem with the one on North Hill is the minute you do that, traffic regulation changes dramatically.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because we've only got one road in, one road out, I think everyone knows that, and that's why it's so dangerous to have that road in unfit condition.
Karen?
I've literally just been with one of the doctors down the surgery, and she said she went down that pothole, and it's actually broken her alloy, and she had to be ushered to the tyre place up the top.
Right.
I think she's obviously reported it. I don't know if you've got it yet. I don't know if it's today. I'm not sure.
I don't get reports of accidents, claims.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that it's been, it's in there.
Okay, Andy?
This business about if there's a hole nearby, they'll do it. I don't agree with that at all, because outside my property, there's a sunken bit of road, just round the corner, there's another sunken bit of road. They turned up, they put 3-way traffic lights up, which is a cost for the council. Built the one round the corner, didn't do the one that was outside mine, and yet they were all in the cordon that was cordoned off with the traffic lights. And to me, it's why have you done them both? Because they're now going to have to come back out again, another cost to the taxpayer, for them to then do the whole as outside mine when they had the opportunity to do it, when they had it all called.
Okay, well, Alan, I'm sure will make a note of that and take that back for us.
If you drop me a note, and what 3 words, give me the ones that were done, lovely, and give me the ones that weren't done. Have you reported that yourself?
No, not yet.
That would be great.
I can do that.
But give me a copy of that.
Okay?
Yeah, just a couple of points, Alan. I think I raised it at the last meeting that I have seen you put a report on social media where you said that you have been able to escalate a pothole to the point where it gets repaired because of its danger. And you said you have that power, as it were.
Yeah.
I just wondered why you use it so sparingly. I don't think it's the whole technical thing, but it does seem to me that if you can do that on certain occasions, clearly when it's not about as it's been reported 40 times, therefore it's up to the residents to keep doing that to get some action. If it's a clear and obvious danger to traffic and potential accident, it would seem just common sense to get that fixed sort of ASAP. And if you've got that power, we obviously will ask you to use it. And I'm not sure how you can. I'm not sure about the ins and outs of that, but that was something that you said at the last meeting, and I've noticed that you've said you have escalated it to a certain level where they come and do it. So just curious, thank you for doing that, but perhaps we could do it a bit more. And the second question,
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. My escalation is nothing that you can't do. And this office does very well, but that number isn't the private number. That's the number that takes anything.
You're a county councillor.
Sorry?
You're a county councillor.
I understand, and when people approach me, like Julie and Tracy do so, if it's escalatable, I will ask for it to be escalated, the same as you could. That doesn't mean to say it's going to get done, because what will happen is an engineer will come out. At the moment, if you report something and just say there's a pothole in Victoria Place, that will go on the report, and they'll get someone out, and but they've got 21 days. So if you if you report something and don't say it's important, it will go on a list to be looked at. The only thing I can do, and Tracy and Julie do it really well, and any other councillor could do it, is they can escalate it yourself. So I react when I'm told that there's a problem, but me escalating it to urgent and get it done. I still like it to get overridden.
I thought you could do that.
Oh no, I wish. Oh, God.
A second point, just, you will be aware of the King Charles III Portsmouth Park, and maybe in publicity, I think, or even today, that it's fully open, and, obviously we've been following that with some great interest around tendering, and, talking to county level about bits that are not open. Now, I am intending to walk it at some point, but I wasn't aware, of bits of it from like Jaywick to Harwich being open. Are you aware of this?
I mean, like you, I saw the King today walking. I've seen the reports that's done by the, I'm going to use hopefully the right words. There's a feasibility study, and as you can imagine, around the coast, I cycled around the coast when I was involved. There's a feasibility study, and there's red, amber, green. The bit that I'm interested in is from here, from Point Clear, round Rothingsea, through to Alresford, even to Wivenhoe. As I understood it, was the least likely to get done.
That's why I'm curious, to say they say it's open.
Oh, no, well, I mean, it is open, but for instance, this is a bit limited knowledge here, sorry, because it's not, I'm interested in stuff in my patch, our patch. At the moment, you can walk from Rothingsea to Alresford. You can walk all the way to Seagull, but then you've got to go all the way up to Thornton virtually. So you can walk it. What the feasibility study said included building a bridge at Alresford. And I think that's where it's not going to get done, but to justify a bridge of that sort, and I think I may have said to you before, there was a thing done by Community Reach 20 years ago now, and they paid £10,000 for a feasibility study. So I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's terrific. I think to be involved with it, but it's got to be somewhere. My suspicion is it will be going down to the mayor when that happens, if it happens.
Any other questions? Okay, Alan, just before I hand it over to the public, I just wanted to ask you one thing. That was, who makes us aware? Because you'll go into purge or so, won't you?
Yes.
Or, yeah, I don't know
Oh,
if
you're
it's
not allowed to use it anymore.
Oh, no.
It's got.
Slit my throat.
Yeah,
What's it called now?
It's called pre-election period.
Oh, right.
So, for instance, just to give you a good example, I held my clinic every 2 months at the library for 11 years, and this one falls after. I think it's the 27th of March. Is it? It's 27th. So the library written to me and said you can't have your clinic. So I've had my clinic there through 3 elections, but it just happened. What you're not allowed to use, anybody isn't allowed to use, and it applies to all of you, use council property, assets, time, buildings during the period that you're for elected. You're quite right, it used to be called Perda, I think that got a bit upsetting to some people. It's now the pre-election period, so.
It starts on the 27th of March.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
And I apologise to some people in the audience who come to my library clinic. The biscuits are off. I think the biscuits were always off, to be honest.
Right, Alan, I'm going to ask, are there any public questions for Alan?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Alan for his service. He's been in the county council for a long time, he's been town council. And we've not always agreed, but he's tried to get me my answers. and the biscuits were not bad. I think they're the highlight of this. Well, but this is a serious question. As you know, the mayor election has been put back till 2028. Your man Tom Walker, the government have actually said, if they elect a mayor, if this goes ahead, he's got to hit, or her, got to hit the ground running. Well, that means he's got no training. Not being funny. This 2 year, he would have had 2026, if it had been male or female, would have had 2 years of training for everything. It's a huge thing. So my question is, can you ask Mr. Walker, the government have said you've got to have strong officers and a structure in place for 2028. And Mr. Walker, who was going to be the main man to train him, because it's that, you've got all these new committees coming in, the police, it's a hell of a task. And as you know, the leader of Norfolk County Council said, no, we're not having it, it's a shambles. That was her words. And the association, Institute of Local Government, a very well respected organisation that goes all over the world, they say it's probably not feasible to train a mayor in that time. So if you could ask Mr. Walker, this is my final question, this is the last one for you, and get his point of view, because he is the man who's the main man to train him. He's temporary, I don't know what happens after that, but this is important, this is not some Mickey Mouse thing. And we're sitting around here and we're on the edge of a lot of trouble with Iran and oil and this big thing. Man, we've got a perfect storm coming, but that's it, Alan, that's my question.
I'll do my best to get an answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, John.
Is there any other questions? Yeah, I'll pick down. Yes, sorry,
Me
carry on.
first.
Sorry, you're behind Mike.
That's okay. Back to highways, in fact. I can't remember what the phrase is, but you have a members' initiative week once a, is that the right phrase?
Spot on. At various stages, if you can imagine, to run the county, things happen. You get potholes, you get a thing that it's just done. You have to deal with it, and you have to. If it gets a priority, it gets done quickly, and it doesn't. Now and again, we get some extra money from somewhere. So at this particular moment in time, we've just got an extra. I think I reported last month. There's extra £6 million. And it's a members' initiative. So what it means is, I've mentioned it on.
Well, my question was Sydney Street part of that?
I'm going to say no. And at the start, I think that if you have a look at the 4 or 5 last four, it's been number 1 on the agenda about council picking out 3. And I'm fairly sure that Sydney Street wasn't one of those.
So it was done in January, I think it was January.
Right.
And I think you'd be quite interested if you went down Sydney Street and looked at the state of what they've left it is.
Okay.
But is there a list of what your schemes were?
Yes, there's a system called, there's several systems. Most of them start with Essex County Council. One is report it, one is track it.
And we'd find your list of...
Yes, yeah. And if you don't, I've got a list, obviously. And if you've got a particular what I'm saying is business should go on. If somebody's done a repair, which isn't up, I think you're saying isn't up to scratch.
Well, you would have no idea that they've had a week
Okay.
in our street.
Then if it was done like we're talking here about an emergency overnight property, what can we do in half an hour? That's one thing. If it was a proper, for those of you that have been around long enough, you go back to Belfield Avenue, and they started at one end of Belfield Avenue and 8 months later finished. So there's still to be done. So if whatever initiative it was or whatever system it was, if the work wasn't up to scratch, then we got to bring back the firm that did it. So if you tell me that, if you give me the what 3 words report,
The whole length of Sydney Street, that's my
Well, in that case,
Is it-
that can't be a report.
If you look on the report,
Yeah.
there's still potholes still on there, they've not
Okay.
been cleared off, and they were there a week. So
Okay.
it's really bad.
Can you give me the numbers?
No, I don't know them, but you could look them up, you'll see them on the report. You go on
Okay.
Sydney Street, you'll see dot after dot after dot.
Okay, are the girls at the office aware?
I would have thought so, because why would we pass them through there, they're on the report, they are on there.
Okay.
And they just say, all of the repairs that need doing are still on Sydney Street on the report.
Okay, I'm gonna have to move this on, but you'll pick this up with Alan, yeah? David, you had a question?
Yes, Ellen, on your future items plan, you've got word of warning. Can we a bit more info on that?
We're approaching, as anybody, well, all of you, all councillors, you have budgets, you have things to do. People allocate funds for jobs to be done. If the jobs are not done within a reasonable period of time, you will find that the money is moved to somewhere else, it's not spent within a year. So I've said the same to every council, if you've got anything that's in the system, but for some reasons hit a bit of a bottleneck, so make it aware that there's the bottleneck. I think that the one I was particularly concerned about is we've had good discussions about verges, grass cutting and all sorts of things. And I believe the decision of this council is that they were going to go down the road of training people. Essex County Council supply the training, Essex County Council I think supply the jackets and the coats and the hats, and they also supply the tools. And as far as I'm aware, that was agreed, tell me out here, 8 months ago, 10 months ago. And as far as I'm aware, nothing's happened.
Well, no, we are looking at that, aren't we? Obviously, ex-councillor Court was leading on that.
They needed some people to go forward for some first aid lessons.
Yeah.
And we didn't, the people that were going to go forward, I think, didn't. Or
Okay.
I think Matt was
I
one
was
of them.
going to go forward, but we just didn't get told when it was.
Karen,
I think at the last E2 meeting, sorry Jean, it was discussed that the lady that had come and given us a talk would agree to move forward with the scheme exactly as he described, and we were waiting for training, and then it fizzled out, unfortunately. Whose fault that was, I don't know, but as has been mentioned, Councillor Court had been dealing with it, and I said I would take on to try and move it forward, but we need to hear from, I can't remember her name now, is it Shirley? Yeah.
I thought it was only because I thought the problem was here.
No, I think there's been a lack of communication.
I may have been
both
dropped
ways.
between two stools, so can we reignite it?
But we couldn't move forward because we were waiting for the first aid training, and there was no first aid training came forward. We needed 3 first aiders, like myself, Kerry, and a member of the public. We were 3 first aiders, we never had anything.
Either way, if it's going to go ahead, urgent, please.
All right, we'll
Yeah,
choose-
I'll do it tomorrow.
do it tomorrow. Okay. Any other public questions? Okay, thank you very much, Alan. With this, you'll make the next full council meeting?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's gracious me.
He's writing you off too soon.
Well, I might not be around. I might not be coming, so you'll let us in.
You're a hope so. You've been here every year since the year started.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
I'll go off to, if I just listen to the next one too,
Yeah.
and I'll be up to, Snow's, is that all right?
Yep, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions, by the way. Thank you. And anybody that's got a question, it's your direction, actually.
Okay, right, moving on to report from our district councillors. Any, should we, Jane, you want to start?
Sorry. I might have trouble reading all this. The Human Resources and Council Tax meeting, which has brought in a lot of new policies, which will go through full council attending at the end of the month. And they are all part of the new employment law changes. And rather than rewrite them all ourselves. They have been passed by the unions. Tracy's got a copy of them, and we can just filter them into our own policies as new. Just updating our own, and the only one we don't actually have is the time off and facilities arrangement for trade union duties, because we don't have staff in the trade union. I've just asked them that we just bring in the policy, it will sit there and it'll be ready as if and when we ever employ anybody who is in the trade union, we've got that policy. So, really, that's all.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, so moving on to Graham.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so you've got the front of you. I'd like to make reference to a copy of the email sent to, just as a spin-off on the Health and Wellbeing Day. There's a really strong presentation done by the lady from the YMCA. So I contacted the leader and also the housing photo holder at Tendring. You can see the email there. I've got a reply today that we're going to try and progress that. So the partnership photo holder. So we'll be doing a meeting to see what we can. And obviously James is involved in the YMCA down here. And then I've put in some reports there. This is all about scrutiny, and then it's all about what has been put forward to cabinet. It's quite interesting. Well, the first one really is the youth provision for school age children. Turnover, I don't know whether the portfolio is. It's quite positive comments there. And that's really a liaison between scrutiny coming on to Clacton. Taking on to the next one, which is the end one there, which is Connect Bus. We had the first one, I believe, we had a bus provider coming to a scrutiny room. But as you can see, read the comments there from the portfolio holder for the economic growth and regeneration in tourism. That's quite good, because what we're saying, that's going to be fed in to the local plan, especially where we can get developer contributions to new bus routes. So that will be ongoing. We'll do another meeting with Connect Buses. But just give you a flavour of what we're trying to do. It's linked up to scrutiny and put recommendations into cabinet. Good idea.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, moving on then. Vic?
Thank you, Graham, for that reference to the cabinet, which is actually going ahead tomorrow. So I'll be proposing that about improving our digital contact with young people and getting them to become more active and in where they live. So it's been a busy week, month. I think mainly concentrating around the planning issue. The local plan consultation ends next Monday, and it's on the agenda, but I think I would like to commend all my colleagues and people and all the residents who have taken part in this consultation. I think you can see there we had over 200 people here at the consultation. We've had 3 weekend sessions in town. We met with the planning policy team leader here, which was very useful. And Councillor Chapman has just given me another bundle of forms to return. So I think we can say with some confidence that the town has responded pretty significantly to this consultation, and hopefully our views will be taken into account. And I don't know whether I can speak to the submission later or
Sorry, keep that for later.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything? Any questions for? Can I therefore just ask? I noticed you had a meeting with is it the North Essex?
Oh yes.
What and when? Any news on when the problem's going to be dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, that had to, they posted notices and they have to be up for 28 days.
On 28 days.
Yeah, to see if there's any kind of response to that. I know some of them were taken down within 28 hours by somebody, and I think they were reposted, but yeah, it's in the pipeline, and
Right,
I
okay.
think it's probably weather dependent now.
Can I just make a comment that, was that the notices with an A4 with a plastic sheet with a tie wrap around the thing? I mean,
Yeah.
it nearly fell off in the wind, isn't it, about any bullet off?
Yeah, well, that's a statutory obligation to do that.
I mean, just do with a better system,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I agree. There was confusion at first. We did have to put out some explanation of what was actually being proposed, and that it wasn't going to be no parking for cars or bikes. Only from 11 PM to 6 AM or something, and it was confusing, the wording, but it is, they have to publish them like that, and there was 3 or 4 of the schemes, I think, on the same notice.
Jean?
Yeah, do we know what happens if they don't move?
Well,
What do you think
I
is
think,
going to happen?
well, there's a degree, there's enforcement potential,
Yeah.
and ultimately they'll have to move for lines to be painted, then are part of the road.
And it's just,
And
if they don't,
bays.
yeah.
Well, I suppose we're
I
at
suppose
that
with the
bridge
police
where we
being
come
involved.
to it, Jean. I mean, I think the person we're talking about is quite well versed in being extremely antisocial, and has got a bit of form for it elsewhere, I understand. So it's, I don't know, it's a matter for the NEP to take whatever action. I mean, we had a problem when we had the yellow lines down the waterside. Every time they come out and do them, there was a van park there, and they couldn't actually finish the job. You know, I would have just painted them over the top of the van, but the conditions have to be right. The weather has to be dry. You know, the temperature has to be reasonable, and they have to come out with a clear road. And it just adds another layer of complexity to the whole operation if people do not cooperate. And my understanding, I don't know what will happen if they refuse to move. I'm sure there is some enforcement procedure,
Yeah, just
which
wondering
will
if you
probably
knew what it
take
was.
another 3 years. Yeah.
Can I just add to that? I don't expect you know, and I'll take a written answer as it were, but if we do have to have enforcement, do we pay for that?
Good question.
Because I think we pay, whatever it was, 5.8 or whatever the original. I presume that's for the white lining. I presume if they need to take somebody to court or bring trucks in and move people, that's going to be another expense.
Okay, yeah, I'll try and get you an answer on that.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Move on then to,
Sorry, just before I go,
Oh,
again, a real bad mistake. I didn't mention John Garden, wonderful event. Sorry. I
okay,
meant to put that in my
thank you.
notes.
If I can then move on to the team's reports, item 7, and we'll start as a written facilities and communities assets.
That's me. Meeting was held on the 12th of March. We had apologies from councillors Howard and Henley. I think it's safe to say it was a very long meeting. A number of items were discussed, but there are 5 recommendations coming from that meeting, which I can just clarify some bits on. In relation to the heritage pier, the fisherman that we initially asked last month to move his nets because of the health and safety issue at the Hammerhead. I understand we're going to write to him again to remind him that the nets need to be removed by the end of the month, but they've been removed today.
Well, there is one net, almost gone.
So, and who was that in the wetsuit in the picture?
There were just 2, now the Hammerhead is cleared, there's suddenly 2 guys in wetsuits, and they had this new boogie board thing, which I was fascinated with, which had no motor or anything, and they jump on it, push it up and down, it just shoots off. They didn't go very far, they were in about 10 yards.
So the heritage pier is in use.
Yeah, the heritage, yes, and also another boat was on there today, using it as for maintenance, which was nice to see.
Excellent. So, the boat park, Rick and I met with Vicky Putney and one of her volunteers for the boat park to discuss the feral cats and the mess they were leaving. We reached an agreement where they would clear up and where we, on our grounds team, would be responsible for clearing up grass areas that run through. A lot of that will be resolved when the area is resurfaced anyway. But I think we've reached a compromise. We're also going to place a bin down there in the corner of the boat park for them to do. But we'd like to confirm that in writing to the group, just so they've got something to say. Because obviously with the change of staff, I think last time they said they were not in agreement with where they'd agreed to clear up, if that makes sense. So we need to confirm that in writing. Bateman's Tower, that again, from the recommendation shown on the notes there, has moved forward slightly. TDC were unable to discuss the pre-planning application, and Councillor Atkinson is due to meet with the leaseholder tomorrow, I think. So, and then post that meeting, we would like to write with our decision on how to move the matter forward, depending on the outcome of that meeting. Colne Road, Councillor Pavley, to look at the land registry site to determine the boundaries of the back of the properties. This is the access road at the rear of Colne Road. Lots of people parking on it. Boundaries have been extended a little bit like Lime Street. So Chris is going to tidy that up, I think, and then we'll review it.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a printer off of the land registry.
And the last one, strategic projects. This is probably the one that generated the most conversation. We're very aware that we've got some projects that we'd like to complete, and we don't want to lose the money when things change. So we're trying to formulate a plan. Councillor Atkinson and Councillor Pavley are going to try and contact some people who might be able to help with design specifications for some projects that are in the pipeline, and move that forward. So that's a recommendation we'd like to bring to full council for them to be able to access that.
Can I just add one thing? We had a resident of Oyster Tank Road who was very vociferous about the state of the car park, which the FCA and council agreed to have resurfaced by a local contractor who did it about a week ago, and I got a lovely email from this lady saying thank you to the council, it's so much better, and a really fine job's been done.
Something right.
Yes, even though the contractor is going to come back when static cars move a bit and finish it off, they are very, very happy with that.
It's a nice change.
Any other comments or questions? Kerry, sorry.
When's the Western projects meeting next? Sorry, I can't even think what it's called. The WPW. That one, when's that?
I don't know if we set it.
I don't think we did set another date, so we probably need to do that.
I think there's a couple of inquiries in respect of funding or stuff with the FA or stuff. I think we're going to chase up a few things, aren't we?
Yeah, there's quite a few things to.
I did try and ring the FA.
I think you circulated the
The
notes.
FA made contact today.
Have they?
Yes, I've had 2 or 3 emails, so
Okay.
Terry and I'll be working on that one tomorrow.
Okay, good.
I think Mick circulated the notes, Kerry, so it might be in the notes if there was another meeting.
I don't think we did.
I haven't
Put
seen
one
any
meeting
notes.
in.
Have I seen notes?
Yeah,
Am I in the working party?
yes,
Definitely.
yeah,
Am I?
yeah.
I've just missed loads,
They're
sorry.
just rough.
I'm so behind everything.
I'll see if I can find it, if I can, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Or
I need a.
Final recommendations, albeit that some of them have moved forward slightly, they're still the same recommendations.
You're proposing, you're seconding, all those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Moving on to the ENT. Jane.
Yeah, unfortunately I wasn't at the ENT, I was ill. So, Graham was.
Graham, do you want to?
Who's, if you want to. run through.
Yeah. Obviously, on the first recommendations that we got, which what we've already touched upon, is the volunteer drive for community speed watch again to reinstigate that. So we're looking to do that. And then there was a question where we could do it, and we did have a letter in to say that specifically in Chapel Road, I think.
Yeah, we had a letter from the residents saying there was a problem in Chapel Road, but there are only certain sites authorised for it to take place. The lady that runs it from Community Speaker Watch did send me something we publicised to try and do a volunteer drive, but obviously we can't do it at all unless we get some new volunteers.
And then really on the public rights of way volunteering, which we've already touched upon in Councillor Coggin. Church Road, Strangers Corner, about the pricing and the need to get involved up there as well. And then just a review of if the signs we've got up there have been successful. The Western Road, the hedge removal has been done, I believe.
Yeah, it has been done, yeah, it's tidying up quite a bit, but, yes, it has been cut right back.
And then obviously, you know, the bus stop at Hurst Green, I think Councillor Mitchell has had contact with some of the people up there. But obviously we are looking at ways, I think one of the suggestions is to put a bit of mesh in to protect it. But we didn't think the standard of the condition of the actual.
No,
grass
periodically
was
taking
that bad.
photographs throughout the winter of the deterioration of the area, the grassed area around the actual bus stop, and it hasn't deteriorated that much at all. It's certainly not become sliding to an extent or anything. I circulated photographs. I did speak to Terry, our grounds manager, about putting in the diagonal mesh to try and keep it together. And I'm waiting to hear back from Terry to see whether he thinks that would be suitable, but it would only be a very small area that would be required anyway.
Right.
So,
I did
concreting.
email the bus company to see if they could put any light on it and to see if possibly they could move the bus stop, because when the bus stops there, it blocks the whole road off completely, both ways. So I thought it might be a better idea to have the bus stop in a different place, but I did send the email, but I haven't had anything back yet. That was last week.
Yeah,
But hopefully.
I think we're going to, I've had contact with Charlie Poulter at Transport Made Easy, which is Connect Buses.
Yeah.
And I think so we could get him to come to another ENT meeting where we
Yeah.
can not only look at that, but we can also
Yeah.
look a survey of all bus stops in the town. And also the phantom one way and one way back. So yeah, we will be looking at that. And the other thing was the keep it prim and tidy, the clear up from tomorrow. And we've got bags, etc. for people to do their own clear up. And also we can tell them where to actually deposit the bags when they're full.
Right, I was going to say that's the problem.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Have you finished, Rick?
Yeah, I think that's
Joan?
I'm going to pick up on item 7. I didn't know I was sending Tesco's a letter.
Oh. Yeah, that was the one where you said.
Yeah,
You've
but I
spoken to
don't think it should come from me.
Oh, no, I
I have a
agree.
shop right next door.
I think it should come from our council.
I think it should come from the council. The reason is what's been happening. They get notification they got a lorry due in, which is fine, and they're coming off outside the shops. I've got no problems, we all have deliveries. But it's getting that they're coming off for up to 3 hours, you know, and it's,
Sorry, maybe you should have read the council sent a letter.
and we've been receiving lots of complaints. You know, a couple of times I've gone to them and said, "Is your lorry due?" No, it's somewhere. And I said, "You just can't keep coming off. I've got a delivery coming in, so I'll move their cans and, you know, my deliveries are 20 minutes. We've all got to take deliveries, but I don't come off outside my shop, you know, it's like that's."
I must say, I also noticed that Co-op this week, I think it was early in this week or maybe late last week, where they're in I can't remember the name of the road, in the side road.
Still
And they were just parked in the middle, completely locked it out, because there were cars when they arrived at the front. And they were just sitting there, must have been there for a good 20 minutes, I think, maybe even longer. Well, they unloaded, I mean, that's just not.
I think we've got
Well, and the co-op would like to put a loading bay at the side there, and virtually, you know, stating that we could pick the times. I think they would have liked somewhere between 8 and 9 in the morning or something. That you've got to go to all the residents to ask whether they mind, but I think the co-op would have even been prepared to pay for it to be put outside. Tesco's were all for having a loading bay, but their head office said no. Down here, they would love for us to put a loading bay there, so any time, again, for what we thought was best, but their head office said no.
So, sorry, Mr. Mayor, there is one last one there, is the new waste contract, where we're gonna have a meeting to discuss the bins and current locations.
Right.
And obviously, Mr. Barry was going to talk to the officers at Tinbury.
Is that about that?
Yeah.
Kerry had, yeah, okay, Kerry.
Sorry,
Kerry had,
Oh, it's only just silly, just something little. You know where the old bus stop is that being used now by the new?
Yeah, no, Captain.
Oh, I was gonna say, because that would be perfect, wouldn't it, to use for Tesco's delivery?
Kerry had, sorry.
Yeah,
You're working it.
couple of things on the, Great British Spring Clean. I don't know whether we could, suggest a concerted effort or concentration of effort on, next Saturday on the 28th, if we're putting any
I
comms
think
out.
we put the comms out and it was for this weekend. Reading
was it?
ENT was for the.
All right. I just wondering if we could
20th
maybe
to the-
put it out again.
We can certainly put it out again for
Just
next
saying
weekend, but it's gone out already. It's,
Okay. That's all right, I hadn't seen that. And on the bins, it was suggested that couldn't we ask Tending District to empty all the bins? And I think the immediate response was, well, we've just agreed a new contract, why didn't you ask us to do this as part of the new contract? And which is a fair point, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they did say they could, well, it could be looked into, but there would obviously be a cost to this council, because it would be additional to what has currently been negotiated. So I suppose if we want to pursue that we would have to ask them for a full costing of that, and then see if the council felt that that was an appropriate use of, you know, resources.
I think, in fairness, I think we did message to, but of course, it was that outside company who was doing the negotiations for the new contract.
So do you want me to pursue that and get costings?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, yeah. Well, if there's a need and a want, we ought to know up its
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah, find out how much.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm assuming, Graham, you're proposing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yes, all those in favour?
Agree?
Thank you. Welfare and resident services? Anything to report?
Not, just John has done the write-up on the health and wellbeing day,
Right,
which you've got in front of you. The only thing that's coming, is the diabetic eye screening that took place again from the 2nd until the 10th. 238 patients were invited, 183 patients attended, so it's a 76.9 attendance rate. And it must make you wonder why sometimes they bother, and Tracy said, and I sat here with Judy one morning, and the poor girl just sat there because people didn't turn up, they hadn't said apologies or anything.
Terrible.
So, but they're grateful we do it.
can we find out what other areas attendance rate is to see if that's something specific to Brightlingsea, or is it when they're attending other places they get?
I think Brightlingsea is only one of very few that allow them to come into a town. Most of them have to go to the hospitals or the clinics. But yeah, we could ask them.
And was it when we had all that wind as well, it was a bit bad weather that puts
Yeah.
everybody on.
And just to add that I made contact with the NHS who do our COVID and flu vaccinations,
Right.
just to see if they were coming in again. And of course, you know, we've got such a wonderful system with the biggest uptake in the whole of Essex. And they've now changed the boundaries. So the team that I've been working with over the last 4 years, we've got a new team. They've passed all the information over, but as of yet, we don't know whether they're going to come back into the town. They will, because I should keep getting at them. They'll be fed up with me, and they will get me here. But
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Kate, you going to do comms and tourism?
Oh, you stopped commenting?
Yeah.
Comms, I've got any notes to call, but,
Right. I think it was predominantly the wellbeing thing took over, wasn't it?
I think, yeah, because,
Okay.
can
Well,
we to read John's report?
no. I think we would read that.
I think, sorry, I think on the comments we could make reference to the social media policies which we did discuss.
Right.
At
Yes.
the last,
I think we need to sit down and look at that email today and decide, because I think the implication I got from something else I received was that there's an insistence that we take up some of the training.
Yeah.
So maybe we've got to programme that in at some point.
I think also, John wanted to know that the newsletter's been done for March,
Right.
so our newsletter's gone out. I think
Okay.
it has, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
I'm saying, yeah, I think so. Julie's definitely done it, so I'm assuming it's gone out.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Fine. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to item 8 then, which is finance. Over to you, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the Finance and Property Committee of the 17th of March. We had a full meeting. Minutes are in front of you. 260B, financial overview, report 1 month to go. We're on budget, which is good, and forecast. There is a recommendation on 262 regarding a PA system, which Councillor Carr brought forward, and seems to be very reasonably priced. There is a recommendation on 263 regarding the Essex Act to be implemented at Strangers Corner at a cost of £750, which we agreed. 265, recommendation anyone obtaining quotation for any various works should give a copy of that recommendation to the town clerk, where she can keep it in a quotations file, so that the clerk always has a record of it. Then there's the recommendation 266, to discuss again regarding the shredders, which we are working on an agreement with these things do take some time. I have spoken to Gunter, by the way, and getting the information we require. And a recommendation, just regulations of the Heritage Pier are readdressed. This came about from a public question regarding should we be having life jackets on Heritage Pier. We have now got the latest regulations, but I will need a bit of time to read them. So we'll bring that to the next FCA, I think, so you can have a look at that, because we need to know whether we're compliant and whether our visitors who use the Heritage Pier need to do any more than just walk up and down it. Yeah, so they're the recommendations. Any questions? Happy to take.
Yeah, I'll just address the issue of F260, the budget and financial report. There's the financial summary that we had, copy of the budgets and actuals was circulated to our members, and as it says, Councillor Atkinson briefed on those budgets, and a lot of discussion took place. It's not really, I think, fully represented in the minutes, that discussion, and I think you just said that we were on budget. I think we have to pay, tribute to Councillor Atkinson for getting the finances into sort of a reasonably positive state, but there was one item on the financial summary and the budgets, which was the contingencies quote, and it had actually gone up by 2,000% from what it was forecast, and that had gone up to £34,000 26,000 of which was a repayment to the Marine Management Organisation. I don't think we can just, let this pass through without a proper comment. And I think looking at that recent repayment, I do have a concern, not just about the financial impact, but about where the entire matter was conducted from the outset. That's about how we got the grant and so on. It's clear that, we discussed this for a few years now. The original grant application was based on evidence that was weak and not sufficiently substantiated. And the subsequent handling of the funds, in my view, did not meet the standard of professionalism and rigour that we should expect from this council. So I think it goes without saying we've had a lengthy period of discussion, and this started, I think, when I was 4 years ago, with the grant funding body, which culminated in a requirement by this council to repay a significant sum of money. Whilst this brings the matter to a conclusion to some extent, I don't think it makes the situation satisfactory. So I just believe it's important that we do make an effort to understand how this situation arose, because we haven't. I remember we had a discussion and we said we were going to have an investigation, a report on how this had arisen, and I really wanted fully minute that the potential for recovery of this amount paid must be pursued with the utmost vigour, and that is, this is just due diligence on our part, because speaking to Councillor Atkinson, obviously we do have the internal audit, and if the internal auditor comes across an item which is 2,200% over budget, they're obviously going to ask a few questions, and I think that we have to be in a reasonably strong position to be able to answer those questions and be transparent about it. And so I thought we were planning to hold some kind of assessment or review or inquiry into the whole thing, and I understand we have lodged a claim with XO Environmental about their part in the original application and trying to recover some money. So I think, I'm raising this because we need to learn some lessons from this and just make sure that we do not find ourselves in a similar position again, because I think 26,000 is a lot of money, and we could have done some good things within town. So I just think we need to review it, make sure our processes and procedures are as strong and our governance is strong, and learn some lessons from this.
So just before you start, can I just, did everybody get a copy of XO's reply to our inquiry?
Don't think so.
Okay, no, I wasn't sure about that. I'll make sure it's circulated. Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. First thing I'll just quickly say, and first thing I will say to Nick, we welcome the question, Nick, and I think all this council feels uncomfortable by it. We're not in the business of doing anything wrong, and this was a historic thing which, frankly, wasn't done properly in the beginning, and I fully support your concern. I would just like to make the point, we did check with the auditor regarding the best way of repaying this, and he did give us some advice which we followed, which is important. And I think, the mayor has contacted, we decided that we ought to really check our system and our procedures and process on this. And so we have written to the TDC monitoring officer to look at the way we've handled this and the process, for the very reason that you've said, that we need to look back historically, we look back and say, we did check this out. But I understand they are so busy at the moment, she hasn't actually responded to the mayor.
Just to clarify that, I think our first request for a meeting was in October October, November time.
Last year.
And we must have sent 3 or 4 other emails asking for a meeting to discuss this. And unfortunately, I don't, at one stage she was on holiday or something, but we have not had a further reply. So I would ask the district councillors if you could use your influence.
Remember that, so we'd like to get this done.
Yeah.
Because once we've got that, and we've got her sort of opinion on that and the proceeding process, we wish then to go back to this EXO letter because, and scrutinise it. And I think, bearing in mind the advice that she gives us, we want them will need to make some legal advice, because I agree with you that if there's any way of any redress here, we should be following it fully. But at the moment, it's paid, as you said, we've now put a close to it, which is good after 2 or 3 years of discussing it. But I fully support your point. I think we need to check it out fully. So that's where we are. So I think we're just waiting for the T's and if that answers it.
I just make the point that the EXO letter doesn't contradict the evidence or anything like that we've got, that says that that's what we advise them. So it's sort of reflecting that. So there's not a hands up, we got it wrong by any stretch of the imagination. So I think if that's to be taken further, that would require legal advice at the very least. Because I think, to be perfectly frank, I think they've referred our letter onto their insurance company, and I suspect that reply is written by their insurance company. Sorry, Graham.
Yeah, you know, it's all funny enough, it's all about scrutiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
We scrutinise it, and obviously the examples I've given about what we've done at tendering, just shows you how scrutiny can work. That's filtered through to major decisions. I think the problem with us, we're a small one, so who's going to scrutinise that, you know? But I still think that we should really look at our policies on how we do this. And I know that we mentioned quotes and obviously the quote systems have already been in place by the town clerk, so that was after very quick action. And I think we do need to look at how we scrutinise. Obviously not today, but going forward, I think we need to.
It's one of the recommendations that all these, any quotations now go as a copy, must go to the town clerk. For that very reason, for scrutiny.
Can I also add though that I think that the whole structure of the organisation is now different because of the earlier consultation consultants report, whereas now these decisions are made by a committee rather than an individual appointment. So I think to a certain extent that has answered the structure, but I still think that we should look at it in more detail. So we wait to hear from the monitoring officer.
Maybe push them a bit. Dave?
Okay.
Just as well, but in terms of the accounting protocol, we have to declare the item as an extraordinary item.
Right.
And that will trigger due process.
Yeah.
We did exactly the right thing, we contacted all connected parties.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure we follow that through. So for accounting reasons, we need to do it.
No, I agree. Well, I've mentioned it to yourself and you've sent off several emails, but we don't seem to be getting anywhere with the monitoring officer.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Was there any other
recommendations, any other comments on it?
Is there any other comments? Or
If not, I'll propose them.
Propose a second? Dave, was that your? What is it? It's like an auction, Dave. You must have moved your hands. All those in favour?
Very bought it.
Thank you. I'll get you a check later.
That cost me.
Just before we move on, sorry, there's something that I've been dying to ask all evening because it's come up a couple of times. What is the Essex Act? It keeps on coming up, it's going to cost us £750.
Yes, exactly, it was actually on the, well, if you'd asked me this before, I would have brought out, it was,
Parking on Grassburn.
discussed at the North Essex Party and Partnership meeting this afternoon. It's a power, an authority that is exercised by the North Essex Park Partnership. It's been named the Essex Act because I think it is particular to Essex
districts.
Oh, right,
In terms of, and it was about enforcing, parking on verges, and I think it came mainly to stop people parking around Stansted.
Right, okay.
Originally.
All right, okay, it sounded very
But
grand.
It's been updated, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
How cheap was that, £7.50?
Right, thank you very much. So moving on then to finance item, finance committee,
It's me.
right? David.
Councillor Morgan and I have examined the accounts for February 26th and under the delegate authority of the Finance Committee confirmed that 16 payments in the sum of £5,260.68 have been authorised and paid. The statements of balances on the following accounts are to be accepted. Current account 7055 is £37,890.01. Business premium account 8295 is £28,923.69. Business premium account 9433 is £449.50. CCLA Public Sector Deposit Fund is £103,196.66. Instant Access Account 0373 £27,001.90. Current T2 account 4360 is £12,809.54. Making the total on all of those accounts of £210,271.30. Moving on to the income for February 26. The total income is £10,110.02. The expenditure for February 26 is £55,516.16. Income to date, 1st of April to 28th of February, £499,643.05. Expenditure to date, 1st of April to 20th of February, £416,580.39. Employee payments paid for the month of February is £17,089.53. Barclaycard payments for February £156.20, and the cash card payments for February 26 £126.50. Thank you.
Thank you. I assume you're proposing?
I am proposing.
Second, your second. All those in favour of that? Thank you very much. Right, moving on, therefore, on to item 9 now, the Tendry District Council Local Plan Review. Hand it over to Nick on this one.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'd just like to, formally put this for adoption so that we can submit this to Tendry District Council as a response to, as a formal council response to their local plan review, and in particular their indication of a preferred option for 300 houses on the site referenced SAH4, which is, as we know, on the Sampson's corner there. So I would just say again commend everyone who's been involved in this, particularly the residents who turned out in numbers and shown high levels of concern around the traffic and infrastructure issues that this development would raise, and really taking into account a lot of things that we've heard from talking people over the weekends in town and in this office when they had the presentation. And I think, we can be confident that the position we've put forward is supported by the residents, and that it's reflecting very comprehensively their feelings. So basically identified major traffic issues, obviously one road in, and 3, in addition to this proposed development, we have the development at Lower Farm, East End Green, for 140 dwellings, and plus we've heard about the quarry movements today, going in and out, and I think we determined that whilst that can be seasonal, or is seasonal, I believe, it's, it can can lead to up to 20, 30-ton lorries in and out per day, and we've seen the problems that causes when there's wet weather and mud on the road. So overall, you're looking at possibly another 1,000 residents being accommodated in the town, and all the issues that would bring. So we've put in a fairly clear opposition to that, and also the site location where it is, it seems to be the only place that they could actually put that number of houses. They rejected other ones because of the proximity of All Saints Church. So it didn't strike us as a really heartfelt and really dead serious proposal. It was like, we've got to make some numbers up, and this is the only place we can find to put them in privacy. We're not against any further. We have to recognise that this is happening across the entire district, and there's a doubling of the cause. So we are willing and able to discuss with people alternative sites, and there are some in the town that we think could accommodate certain numbers of houses, but not to this level of hundreds. So we're not putting our heads in the sand saying go away, you can't have any. We are looking to work with them to fill in gaps that are currently in the town. So I think it's been a proper consultation, and by that I mean in terms of participation. I'm not sure that we'll get the response we want, but I think what we have asked for is much clearer and more detailed assessments of the traffic impacts, because I think the modelling they've done is very generalised. They haven't done things around going across junction and taking into account all the additional traffic that we generated from developments along that route from St. Orsett, Alsford, etc. So there's a cumulative impact that's going to kind of go, focus it down across. And if any, as we know, if anything happens really anywhere around here and that area, the town can get locked off. And so we've put it in. We'll wait and see. I know they've got quite a quick turnaround, because there's incredible pressure being put on our authorities by the government to have a consultation, put in a final plan, and then for that plan to come out for consultation. So there'll be another consultation, I think, towards the end of the year on the final plan, and that's what they take into account our views. So all I can say is thank you to everyone who took part, and it was particularly, as I say, the residents. And I would ask that this paper is adopted and sent to tendering as our town council response.
I just would like to pay tribute to Councillor Barry for all the enormous work that you've put into this, and you've really led from the front, Nick, and I know you've had the support of the council, many of the councils have helped, but you've been enormous on this, and I just want to pay tribute to that. Thank you very much.
Can we just say that this will go out tomorrow as a press release, or on our website, and also I don't know whether you've got contact with the journalist Brendan Penny.
Yeah.
Whether we could get him in to do an article. He has done do a bit.
The only problem, well, we can just, yes, I will. I'll pass it on. We might need to crunch it down a bit. The journalist reading that, it's not a journalist, I know.
There's somewhere at the end.
Yeah, the bit at the end of it. I'm assuming you're going to propose, you're proposing it.
I'm formally requesting that this is our submission that we sent.
And I think we should vote on it, and I would hope for a unanimous decision on that. Dave, we've lost Dave. I'm asking for a vote on this paper. Can I, all those in favour? Thank you very much, and I think we should list that as a unanimous decision. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Nick. Moving on then to, interesting enough, item 10, planning.
Yeah, I was actually going to thank Councillor Barry very much for this submission. It's such a lot of hard work doing quite a long time. So thank you very much again for having good with it. this is to note the minutes of the planning meeting held on the 3rd and the 17th of March 2026, and to note the planning decisions of Tendring District Council. Can I move on that?
Well, yes, by all means, I'd just like to actually, from the public's point of view, because the gentleman that was particularly interested in that isn't here today, but to just make the point that we have reviewed our decision on the care home, the child's care home in Church Road, and have now decided not to call it in, and that we are supporting the application. This is after having a visit from the contractors, the owners of the care home, who have made quite a significant presentation to us with explanations of all the issues. But we are asking that that goes forward with a suggestion that the planning officers ask for a traffic management scheme to handle parking. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Can I move then that we accept these?
I don't think do we move these? Must we do? Yes. Second. All those in favour?
Can we add that the residents actually attended that meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's added as well.
Well, we've actually had two meetings, one within the formal planning, and they came a week earlier to discuss their issues. Yeah. And well worth it, actually. Sorry. Oh, that's all right. Right, moving on then to item 11, which is questions from the public. And start with David.
So, I don't know, last year time, council spent what, 600, 800 pound on a traffic recording device. We've never ever had any reports on it. Has it been used? Where is it? And was it value for money?
Okay, you've got some.
I can probably give you an answer to that, Dave. I'm not sure it was quite £600, but it was used. It was used in Ladysmith Avenue, and the results were presented to the police and to Essex County Council.
Why weren't they presented to the public?
They were, I think they were discussed in full council.
Not in the public. Not in the public, we didn't know about it.
That's my last meeting up, last time I came, it was discussed.
Essex County Council results were given.
I don't think it really
Results from that device.
And it's also been used second time.
It has been used on another occasion, and it's due to be used again. It was part of the minutes for the ENT today, that we're going to use it another.
Can we have a report on their findings in the future?
We can, we'll do some research and come back to you and give you the results of our, of the two surveys.
Yeah, I'm quite sure the results were discussed, because we put forward that we believe there was a speeding issue in Ladysmith Avenue, but Essex, their device that Essex put in gave a different reading, and they said there was no speeding issue in Ladysmith Avenue, so there were the two different
Yeah,
results.
well, we never received your one.
Okay, well, we'll make sure, I mean, with the public record, we'll make sure you get a copy of them.
I've got two questions, one for tendering and one for privacy. The tendering question is, I read the leaders report, which is very good. But what concerned me was the last bit, your last year before you are not here, the proposed deficit was about 280,000 possibly. I wonder if you could just sort of give a bit more information about that. And for the town, I believe the Lozenge, you're in the dipping pond. I'm going to put a tap in there, but when I was a boy, most of the ponds was just natural rainwater. And I'm going to hand you over to David, because he's a pond expert and he's got one. So,
Well, as far as I know, you can't use tap water in ponds. I have to treat my pond, otherwise the tap water kills the fish and the plants in it. So if you're going to put tap to fill that pond, you're going to kill everything off.
Yes, Dave.
I had the pleasure of enjoying a webinar just a few days ago on biodiversity, and it did crop up. And you can use tap water, but it's got to be very diluted, and apparently in a few days the treatment within the water disappears. I was a bit surprised, but as long as it's suitably diluted, it's okay. And
Dilute water.
that was it's diluted by other water.
Oh, right. You have to treat it with a chemical.
Sorry. So that was from the top, and for some reason it just coincidentally it was raised. I'm just the messenger.
Okay, are there any
Other questions?
other
Did you
questions?
not-
Sorry, what was that about the tendering deficit?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, because you've got 2 years to go, and that was a good report, you know, positive.
Yeah.
But the last thing that said, there is a possible deficit of £280,000. I wondered if you could just explain why that's likely to happen, please.
Well, I think a deficit of £280,000 is pretty good going compared to
Yeah.
80 billions and certain.
Yeah, I realise it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you.
I mean, I think that is the forecast, but any deficit any deficit we have is generally covered by what we call a forecast risk fund.
Yeah.
So that when the forecast is for a deficit, there is a reserve which then addresses that deficit so that the overall accounts are balanced. And I think going into whatever we go into the unitary process, I think we have to commend our council and our finance people in particular for maintaining, the situation that we're in, where we have got a positive balance. You've all received your council tax bills recently, and you'll note that the contribution to tendering is about £180 a year, and I think that is incredible value for the services and what you get. I know people mourn and say
That's what I'm trying to say.
we don't get anything, but I think
But
overall it's really well run financial council.
That's what I'm saying, and it'll be sad loss if tendering goes. I can say that.
Oh, no.
And people won't realise that, but that's my.
If it goes.
If it goes, yes, that could be. Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope.
There's a big if on the horizon.
Yeah, let's drop all this rubbish. Sorry.
Are there any other questions? Oh, yes.
If I could have a town question and a tendering question as well, please.
Yeah, would you?
So my town question is, I don't get to come very often to these meetings, but there doesn't seem to be much movement on Bateman's Cafe. However, my question is, where is their boundary? Because it's concerning me that they're setting out their chairs in front of the emergency gate. And what made me think about it is the bin has now been attached to that emergency gate. I'm sure it's still openable with the bin attached to it, but surely if there was an emergency, we're leaving ourselves in a bit of trouble because all of the chairs, etc. So where is their boundary? And rubbish. So you've said on here that you're going to have a meeting to discuss the bins, current location, what the issues are.
Yeah.
You know, I keep saying to you all the missing bins around the prom, and I've sent you photos because there was some. We never had a bin there, and I've had to send photos to show there was bins there. Is that going to be raised about the missing bins and the fact that the bins we have got bin bags that only go about a third of the way down? It's me and others that are there in the morning collecting the rubbish that's been spilled out because the bins aren't working.
Well, I actually do go in the prom as well, most mornings.
Not saying to
No, not as early as us.
So the issue with people have mentioned about the size of the bin bags. So most of the ones I've looked at, you're right. There's a smaller bin mark, but it's not actually covering even the top. It's in the bottom of the.
Because I go round and lift them off so that people can put rubbish in the bin.
So the idea is, whatever, if there's a bag in there or not, if people just put loose rubbish in, they still have to collect it and they still have to empty it. So that's one of the things we will be talking about. But obviously we'll be talking with tendering, we'll be talking with our litter pickers, and I have been talking to Lisa at the burger van as well. I've looked at legislation concerning takeaway facilities, so we will be discussing that as well. We have the issue with the one bin, which doesn't seem to be a problem now in terms of how it's used. And obviously in the past, we have taken Aidan away because he was being overused, and people, when it was full, people were leaving rubbish around the end. When there was a blue bin, you know, one of the wheelie bins, literally 30 paces away, and that was the one by the toilets. And so what's happened is we took that away, and bearing in mind we've got photographs of it, it used to be overflowing. And I've checked with our lads, is that what about the capacity then? They said, well, the ones in the kids' playground, they are being used more, but there's not an overflowing issue in there. And as I say, the thing with there are the blue bin liners around the paddling pool, so we will be looking at that, and also we'll be looking at some sort of education thing as well to maybe get the message out a bit more and putting some signs up. But obviously I'll be talking to the litter pickers about that if they think that's a good idea. And obviously we'll be talking to our staff as well, because they do our collections as well.
And the missing bins?
And the missing bins, we'll be bringing this up.
Do you have a list?
I do have a list. And so the idea is, Councillor Barry he has spoken about the conversation with Tender and District Council. So is that still on? Because I was going to say that's part of the plan to hold that back. So when they say, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, so hang on, how long have those bins been missing? Have you been charged for them? Have you been paying for them? And then we can see.
Are they aware of the missing bins? Because
well, exactly right.
The two that I told you about,
yeah.
You approached someone else and said they don't exist. They never existed. So I had to send you first off.
Well, that was actually our ground staff. But one of the things, for instance, I think we should have a blue wheelie bin there, to take, because obviously it does get very well used by the Salem Club. But yeah, so hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll get something.
Okay, because I want to answer your other question.
Great.
Do you want to take up the Bateman Town question?
Yeah, I think we reported before that we're now in receipt of a very detailed, quite sophisticated programme of work, which is a critical path programme. So the idea is to be able to now really track it and make sure that there's no slippage. The first milestone coming up for tracking purposes is the result of the pre-planning application to tender, and that's interesting because that will say you either can just vary the original planning application, which is in force at the moment, or it might need to go in full planning. So there's a T-junction coming up, which is in the next few weeks. Once that's been determined, that will change the programme, but we're going to look at the programme on an absolute line-by-line basis, so we've got an absolute forecast of what's happening, which we then can measure and track very accurately. And along the route, there's a series of milestones that we check to see where the hours in the past it's already been paid. So that's what we're doing at the moment. It has been my judgment is it's been very professionally done. The question is, are we going to stick to it? But at least we've now got a framework to monitor. The aim, to give us some idea, the first site works, which is to, just in case you don't know, the plan at the moment is it won't be a floating structure anymore, it will be a fixed structure. It's going to be raised 500 metres in height from where it is at the moment, and there's going to be area concrete pumping underneath to create the base. Once that's done, it's just quite a normal building project to finish it off. So that is the critical bit, and that should be starting sometime in the summer at the moment, depending on which way the planning people advise. So that's where we are.
My question was about the boundary. Where does the boundary of the land that we let to Lisa, where does that finish?
Yeah, I mean the boundary it's clear, and it sort of goes around. But I mean it
can't be in front of that gate, surely.
No, it's not.
No.
I'm going down that forest, we'll check on that aspect. There are some other sort of probably legal issues that we're looking at as well. The main thing is to hope that the work proceeds on the basis of this plan. So that's what.
Thank you.
Graham, just quickly, like one quick fix that Rovina mentioned, can we not just get the right size bin bags in the bins?
Well,
Like, can we not send out something to say, can we actually use the right size bin bags?
well, we have requests like that.
Can we do it again?
And sometimes they then do it,
Yeah.
and then
Maybe we
they
can just say,
stop.
do it again.
Yeah.
Because I remember you mentioning it before.
Yeah, again, that is something which we will have with the discussion, so
Yeah.
I'm so holding it back. I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
It's gonna be a negotiation.
Okay, on the access for the gate, I think we'd better come back to you on that. I'll look on the, because we've got to obviously an official lease, so I need to look at the land registry to actually, because you can own the property, but you can own that land, but still have to allow access as you can. I need to check that. Sorry, yes.
Regarding the bus stop on Hurst Street, would it be better to take it out altogether? There is a bus stop next to the back waterside lane, which is only 50 yards from that, and would alleviate all the problems. That's too far for people from Whitegate Road to walk. There is nothing wrong with the one on Hurst Green. All through the winter, summer, that's perfectly usable. I've used it for years. I've never had a problem.
Yep.
Our answer.
I agree with Dave, thank you.
Whatever Dave says.
Dave, pull up a chair.
There hasn't been a problem with it throughout.
I've lived there for years, I've never had a
It's a little
problem.
bit, the grass deteriorates a little bit, but it springs back, it's not muddy, it's not slippery. There are two areas to stand, they're already concrete because there are benches there.
It's hard.
If you want to stand there. I think once with the bus company come out and review those bus stops anyway, we are at risk of them saying, we'll just remove it. So we'd have to look at that if that was their proposal, and I'd be in agreement with Dave, I think it's too far away from the estate at the back of the spring
Yeah, Man's Alley, yeah.
for it to be removed. It's,
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on therefore to item 10, Clerk's report.
Thank you. Just one item from me. The Forest School would like to use the lozenge again initially for 5 sessions between the 13th of April and the 18th of May, but they do not attend the bank holiday. Their sessions run from 9:45 to 11:45, so they arrive around 8:30 to set up and leave by 12:30. Each session last year was £10, which they're happy to pay again.
I'm going to use a tap.
Yeah. I was going to say, the proviso is bring your own water.
I think that sounds a very good idea.
Yeah,
Very nice.
okay, fully agree. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, item,
Yeah, we have one more item.
Go on then. No, you-
No, you have one more item.
well, I've been notified of one more item to do with the cricket club. I don't know, Dave, do you want to talk to the club? Rick, do you want to talk to the cricket?
Well, I can or don't go. We met with the cricket club and there have been ongoing discussions with the cricket club on the Bayard recreation ground. And they have been, for many years, been looking to finance a new clubhouse, which is a very lovely looking building. It will be a much better facility than they've got now, with proper changing rooms and a clubhouse and a bar. And it will also have referees places, and it'll be segregated for women and men and stuff like that. And it will be inclusive for all sorts of clubs within the town. And I think the council should recognise that this is a fantastic opportunity for the town to see some great new scheme come into Brightlingsea at the Bayard Recreation Ground. They are looking at a sizable, several hundreds of thousands of pounds of a scheme. I don't want to go into the figures. And they're almost getting grants that match the level they need to do the build. The only thing they can see which is going to be an issue, which they may not be able to stretch to, is the provision for the council to rebuild a suitable workshop and store and refuge for our workers to have canteen, instead of the old shed which would have to be demolished to make way for this new wonderful clubhouse. I think the council could look at this. We're looking at a level of about £50,000 to do it properly. But we had that sort of money on 106 money, which is designated as 106 money for the bail. And I wonder whether the council, we probably need to talk about this, whether the council look quite favourably on this, because it would be a major achievement for this town to help the cricket club, and all the people will then use it. But it would mean that we would have to help them provide a suitable storeroom for the council after our old one was pulled down. That's what they came to ask us for our help. We didn't commit, but we'd said that we would. We understood what they're saying, but they've almost got enough funding to get this done. They're not here yet, so we can't push any green buttons, but that's roughly what they'd like us to consider. Dave, I don't know whether you want to add anything to that?
Just only that for those who think the project sort of stalled, which was what I did, the reason for that was the architect died. New architects were commissioned, and the design had to go back to the major funders, and all the rules have changed, so there's been quite a lot of redesign work going on. So that's why apparently it's stalled, but didn't really, and so it's really explained that.
Can I just add to this, because this project needs to be moved on, and from a little bit I know, one of the requirements that the funders to commit to it is they have to prove that the project is going to go forward, and they can't prove that because they don't have an agreement with us to lease the land to them. So one of the vital things they need quite urgently, and Dave, you have to give me the right words for this, but they need a letter of agreement to lease.
It's actually legally known as an agreement to lease.
I was close then.
Which is a legal document.
And what I'd like to say is, I mean, we have a little bit of a commercial team going now that know about leases and things like that. What I'd like to ask is whether that group, with your permission, it could go to that group for the next meeting so that we can approve that and get a letter to them, because otherwise we're stalling their fundraising, because people won't lend them the money if they haven't got a place to put it. And I think we can put caveats on that about the storage area and things like that within the letter, but I do think from their perspective, unless they get a letter soon, they're going to lose their funders.
So does it have to go back to, can you not just do it now? For the lease?
Well, I'm sure, I'm
I
thinking.
think just for the lease, not for anything else.
No, well, to agree to lease, I think we've got to say, this is my opinion, other people might, it has to say in there that they have to provide some storage capability for the storage they're taking away from us, yeah? And I'm just saying, the right words, I wouldn't want to write that now. I think we've got to sit down and make sure we write the right words. Frank?
Yeah, I think that's great, and also we've already had a spin-off, the council had a spin-off, because that was where we first made the contact with the FA. In a peculiarity, it was a cricket club, but the FA remained, putting the money forward. So we've already had our scheme, what we're doing for the Bayer, and hopefully we're down Lower Park Road, so there has been a spin-off. Already.
Take Jane then.
We've always given them letters of support all the way through, haven't we? Every time they've asked for a letter of support, we've always issued that. So they have still got all of those.
I think this is a legal document now.
And whereas Rick is coming on the 106 money thing, I think I'm not against it, but what I'm saying is we need to make sure 100% certain, and we've got it in writing, that 106 money can be used, because we don't want to say yes, let's do it, and then they say actually no, 106 can't, because that changes all the way through. And I also think we need to get an accurate amount of money that it is gonna cost to put in this re-storage, because you've just come out with 50,000. We've had figures thrown at us for the last 2 years that are all different. So I think, as much as I don't disagree with any of it, you've got to have that positive, you know, steps, because you can give that letter and all of a sudden it's going to cost £100,000 to thing, and you throw it all out the window.
Well, I was suggesting that the letter is written on the basis that this letter has no legal binding unless suitable alternative storage is put there. We keep it quite open because we're already crossing swords there, because at one point they were going to fund it, and now we're talking about one. So I don't want to rate something that ties us all together. So let's just have a letter saying we agree to lease this to you, so long as alternative storage is found for us. Yeah?
Oh, sorry,
Just keep
can I
it very
just come
simple.
back on that 106 again?
Yeah.
How many times over the last few weeks have we been discussing where we're going to spend this 106 money?
Yeah.
You know, and now all of a sudden you've asked us to go out and get funding for all the projects that we want down the prom and different places, and you've now jumped in with another one.
Yeah.
And I think that needs more discussion as well.
Yeah. This was a report from this meeting.
Yeah.
That
Kerry?
was just set aside for the rec though, wasn't it, that money? That 106 money? No, so that's to do with the
It's
project.
There is
taking
a-
all the open space.
Oh, I thought that was the
There is-
recreational ground.
There is
like
some
the
specific,
106.
but not that
There's
many.
not a lot in there.
Oh,
I think, sorry,
It's all right, go on, Graham.
I think the thing is there, I think that in the section 106, I think that 9,000 or 12,000 pounds for an outdoor gym up there. So I think really what we need to do is to check the section 106, that we can switch that over to this, and then it'll be, that'll then be a good start.
Yeah. Nick, did you?
Sorry, is it?
Okay, sorry.
I think when this was discussed historically, one of the issues that was raised consistently was that the storage area that was being provided as part of their plans was not sufficient for us to store what we needed. And where it's stored, as far as I was concerned, is we were being asked to pull down something and then pay to build something else which wasn't suitable. And that's effectively, I think, what they're going to be asking us to do again.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, it has to be suitable. I mean, we would write in it, you know, they can't knock down a box and then a shed and give us a shoebox. I mean, we would write that into it, obviously.
So, just on my point, technicality, I think it's a great project personally, but the agreement to lease, there's what's called conditions precedent, and that is very detailed and legally binding set of points that we put in, we put that in, and until they are satisfied, nothing will happen. So it is legally binding, and it gives us,
Which is what, I mean, then it gives them a tool to take to their funders and say, look, we've got an agreement to this. It may have
What
conditions.
Not
James
more
said,
discussion,
Sorry?
not more discussion. I think.
Really? I go on. Mick.
I'm pretty speechless, actually. This has been on the agenda for 2-3 years,
Yeah.
if not longer. We're looking at a project that's £500,000 to deliver, and it will bring Brighton City into the 21st century in terms of its provision of changing facilities for female and accessible needs, female officials, female players, etc., which currently are none on the rec. So it's an inclusive proposal. The proposers have, pledged £250,000 from the Football Foundation, who are supporting grassroots sport, doesn't have to be football. But this is going to be a joint use facility between football clubs and cricket clubs. They have also got a programme of community use, which they will make it available for. The question about the Section 106 money, I was asked to take that forward, so I'm going to speak to Sharon Harwood B and Christy Childs, who are both very knowledgeable about what it can and can't be used for. But you put in conditions on a letter that we're going to send to them. saying that they've got to add further to the costs of the whole thing. This council isn't putting a penny into this, right? And they're getting £500,000
I wasn't
project.
suggesting,
Hold on,
I wasn't
let me finish.
suggesting we
You're getting
said that.
£500,000 building, which is necessary and required for, as I say, to bring us into the 21st century in terms of equal access and equal opportunities. And they're asking for some contribution from Section 106 money, which again is not from the council, but it is from developers and it is in planning authority in tendering. So I think further to the inquiry, we'll firstly see if it's possible. There's also issues around the storage facility,